Hello, in this video I want to look at the Atlas Editions Z-gauge model railways that you see advertised as part works and occasionally pick up on eBay at less than the price that Atlas has for them. Now these are quite nicely moulded and very nicely painted until you sort of get to sole bar down, where they all go a bit pear-shaped, and basically the cast are sort of rigid 8-wheelers rather than swivelling bogies. So the purpose of this video is to look at the Gresley coaches with a view to making them usable on a Z-gauge model railway layout. What I'm going to be using for the bogies is the standard Marklin bogie that you get off their coaches, the sort of UIC standard coaches. What I've usually found is that you can find some donor vehicles that have either distorted or the roof's gone on them, so the bogies are still quite usable. And what I've done to start with is cut off the little locating pin in the centre and drilled that out to take a 10BA bolt. To make a start with these, you need to be quite brutal with them. Basically everything below the sole bar, apart from the moulding with the seats on, we're going to discard. I'm going to keep the wheels separate because there might be use for them later on. But to start with, we're going to disassemble it. First thing we're going to do is drill through the... It's not immediately apparent how these things come apart. So the first thing we're going to do is drill in the middle of where the two bogies are to get to the pin that's holding the retaining plate in. I'm then going to prise the metal weight out of the bottom, put that to one side and the associated trusses and battery boxes, because we're going to use part of that later on. So we've got the bit we want, which is the floor with the seating on. This is actually going to form the basis for the chassis itself. The next thing we've got to do is remove some material. First of all, to get a nut in between the seats at the top of the bolt holes, and also to cut away most of the bit in between the buffers. This is to give the Marklin couple of box room to swing. We're going to use a burr, sort that normally comes in little sets that you get with mini drills, to remove this material. Once we've got that done, we'll just try a bogie in and make sure there's enough room for the coupler to swing. For the bogie pivot, as I said, we're going to use a 10BA cheesehead bolt with a full depth brass nut on it. So I've shortened the original cast floor down, retaining the battery box and trusses, just to clear the bogies. That puts some much needed weight back into the vehicle. Once it's bonded into the plastic, it'll stiffen it up as well. Next thing we're going to do is just check the ride height, the buffer height. This is a tender off a Z-Track a Flying Scotsman A3 mounted on the standard German 8-wheel tender base. So that gives us a pretty good idea where the buffers are going to line up. Note that the seating strip only goes one way around into the body itself. I'm going to use an impact adhesive Evo stick to fasten the cast weight down into the base of the vehicle. This just gives you the opportunity to get the thing out again should you need to in the future. It'll just peel out if you give it enough force. With the ride height set, it's now obvious that the trusses and battery boxes are far too deep and a bit in the railhead. So I'm going to take some material off the bottom, just a little bit, thin it down a bit, and a lot of material off the top, just so that we've got some clearance. So there we have a complete Gresley brake third, capable of running on a Z gauge layout. I'll come on to the Atlas A3 sometime in the future, showing you how to motorise that. In the meantime, I'm going to crack on finishing the rest of the rake.